This is BTV News at 9 o'clock, coming to you live from the capital, Gaborone. I am Khomotsoma Pani. Let's take a look at the headlines. SpaceX in talks with the government to invest in the country. African nations plead for AGOA to be extended. And in sports, Police 11 vowed to redeem their pride against Holy Ghost in a league game after being knocked out of Orange FA Cup. Interpreting in sign language is Buinelo Ntole. Good evening. The 16th U.S.-Africa Business Summit began in Dallas, USA today. President Dr. Mokgweetsi Masisi is attending the summit after successfully hosting it in 2023. He joins 5 other heads of states from the continent: Angola, Malawi, Cape Verde, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. The African delegation is led by the Vice President of the African Union, Angolan President João Manuel Lourenço, while the American delegation is led by U.S. Representative to the United Nations, Linda Thomas-Greenfield. President Lourenço highlighted Africa's intentions to improve its infrastructure and therefore require financing partners in that area, as that would expedite the continent's intra-trade plans through the AfCFTA and access to global markets.
The continent is home to 6 of the 10 fastest growing economies, of course offering immense business and commercial opportunities. Africa has a rapidly growing middle class, with consumer spending expected to reach $2.1 trillion by 2025. And of course, with the launch of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, Africa now has one of the world's largest free trade markets of 1.3 billion people and $3.4 trillion in combined GDP. Intra-African trade will expand, and Africa will play a more important role in the shift in global supply chains.
3 representatives of SpaceX, renowned globally for being leaders in design and manufacturing of advanced rockets and spacecrafts, paid a courtesy call on President Dr. Mokgweetsi Masisi yesterday. SpaceX owns Starlink, the world's first and largest satellite constellation, using low Earth orbit to deliver broadband internet. The leader of the delegation, Lorraine Dreyer, said they are on a global expansion mission, especially in Africa, where they have invested in 5 countries and would like to do the same in Botswana. Starlink is said to be a faster and easier way of making internet accessible in rural areas or developing nations where penetration remains very low. SpaceX is owned by billionaire Elon Musk. Botswana expects that the African Growth Opportunity Act, AGOA, of 2000 will be extended at the U.S.-Africa Business Summit. Minister of Trade and Industry, Mr. Musi Kafela, says the current position of many African states is that AGOA should be renewed beyond 2025 and must resonate with Africa's ambition of moving away from being an extractive continent to focus more on the exploitation of value chains in the region. This American trade deal with Africa offered duty-free access to the U.S. market for over 1,800 products. Botswana has benefited from its participation at the U.S. Business Africa Summit in the last 3 years.
They compel good proper existence. They compel nghamole gape ntshagatso ya mebuso ka ditlhopho makgotlatshekelo a rona ikemela ka nosi ya seka go bediwa diperego tsa ditshwanelo tsa babereki di tlotlwe corruption e be le gore na di-policy le mebuso tsa go diragatsa gore corruption ya kojwa ya nyelediwa ebile di-policy tsa rona ke tse e leng gore di rotloetsa tlhango ya mebereko jalo le jalo nyeletso le huma yaanong re thubile lebelo la go ruragatsa gore re inakanya le lenaneo la go rekisa dithoto le ditirelo tsa batswana ko ntle ga lefatshe la Botswana. A go organisa la simolotse ba re ka 2025 ya ema go tshwentse Maafrika le go goleo le tshwentse Maafrika le go golela gore e emisiwe ga ise ba wele gore ba emisa go tsabe ile ga re kopana le bone ba kopa gore extending a go wa gore imagwa Maafrika ba re e nnele ruri me ba supa gore Mamerika ga ka ba dumela gore e nnele ruri. But it's a trade scheme with so many product lines into. Some years ago.
Coming back home, the Minister of Education and Skills Development, Dr. Dikgang, says tertiary institutions should prepare students for the global market as a way to curb unemployment in the country. He said this at the launch of the sponsorship cycle for 2024-2025, where he emphasized that as a ministry, they are working around the clock to ensure that qualifications from local institutions get recognized globally. Terry Makoeng.
As it is the norm, the Ministry of Education and Skills Development launched the sponsorship cycle for the year 2024-2025, and as government spends enormous funds on education annually, it is deemed important that the graduates find employment, even if it means internationally. It is therefore towards this background that the government aims to improve the education system and help private tertiary institutions' qualification get recognition internationally, resulting in the global market for graduates.
We are at the global village. We are not only training for Botswana, we want to train for the global village. My team is from Africa, Africa, but to aim to talk about the qualification students in Africa. Kajalo, Harris, Moalo, or level not the agenda 2063 Africa.
Government is trying by all means to accommodate as many students as possible for tertiary sponsorship, and as such, even though the cutoff point is 36, a special dispensation has been granted for the less privileged students who attained 31 points to get full sponsorship. The categories for students who will be sponsored were mentioned, and for this year, about 11,850 will be sponsored.
Sponsorship. The first category here are new students. The new students are bilingual, they've completed their Form 5. For the past 3 years, we have not been able to provide for sponsorships of progression. This time around, we are going to provide for progression. Issue of sponsorship. They have not done well, not failed, they have not done well. We have to be sensitive to some of those things.
This year's budget for tertiary sponsorship has an increment of 11.5%, which is hoped to help as many students as possible, and the prospective students will be given up to the 16th of June to apply. Terry Makoeng, BTV News, Gaborone.
Sejalo Police Station Commander Superintendent Mokhomutsi Matlapeng says the sale of home-brewed alcohol in some homesteads in Kanye is a cause for concern. He says in an effort to curb the growing trend, the police went on a raid targeting homesteads, and 8 homes were found to be selling home-brewed alcohol. Superintendent Matlapeng is of the view that some of the incidents of crime in the village, such as rape, house break-ins, and causes of assault could be linked to excessive drinking of such beverages. He reiterated that the composition of such brews cannot be confirmed, therefore posing a health risk to consumers.
Some homes in Kanye have been identified as points for illegal trade of alcohol, so we recently organized a raid targeting some of them, and discovered 8 homes selling such. There are negative effects associated with this, as we cannot confirm the composition of such brews. We are going to intensify our efforts to curb this in order to protect the society and save lives.
Re leke gore re somarele botsogo jwa Batswana, re somarele Batswana ka gore ka gone go tswa letsholo le maiso.
Influx of illegal immigrants, especially of Zimbabwean origin, is worrisome in Nswazi. The VDC chairman, Mr. Mutsumi Maule, made the remarks during a Khotla meeting addressed by Nkangi legislator Dr. Neva Tabang yesterday. Abigail Madorobo reports.
The village leadership is concerned with an influx of illegal immigrants from neighboring country Zimbabwe in Nswazi, and their presence is said to be contributing in high crime rate as the village is experiencing shortage of police officers. Mr. Mutsumi also said that drug abuse in school remain a major concern in Kange constituency.
Our schools are hard hit by drug use, and we as parents are responsible for selling drugs to our children.
Residents were encouraged to utilize government initiatives aimed at improving their lives.
I encourage you to take government programs, and there is another one coming called Tuolitoto that encourages you to venture in any farming practice, being it cattle or fish farming. I therefore encourage you to take advantage of these programs.
Other issues that affect the village were raised by the community.
Nswazi is a big village, and the population was increased by those who came from Zimbabwe. And we plead with you that when you give us a Pelagin quota, that should be taken into consideration.
Meanwhile, Nswazi village scooped position 1 in the cleanest competition of the middle villages in Totume district, and this will go a long way in promoting healthy environment that villagers can be proud of. Abigail Madorobo, BTV News, Nswazi.
Member of Parliament for Khanti South, Mr. Motsamai, has advised Mitsimanso residents against registering for services in areas where they are not based permanently, as this interferes with service provision from government and could result in Mitsimanso not being declared a formal settlement. Angela Enosa.
Mitsimanso is found in the Khanti South constituency, accessible from Nojani village via a 55-kilometer stretch of gravel road. By virtue of it being in a remote area, developments are sluggish. We have to travel as far as Charles Hill and Khanti to access services, and this is very tedious.
We'd like
for Mitsimanso to have internet connectivity like in other areas. The road you used to come here is very bad, and we are wondering if there are any plans in the future to have it fixed. I'm talking specifically about the Nojani Hukunzi road. However, the residents were informed developments are determined by numbers. There is a concern that residents are not getting services in a timely manner. However, I can attribute this to the fact that residents tend to go and register for certain services outside of where they permanently reside, which results in these services being provided elsewhere instead of here. My advice is that from now onwards, register for services in areas where you are staying, as numbers act as guidance for government. Government, when making decisions about what services are needed in certain settlements or villages, uses numbers registered in that area to determine whether or not such areas can be upgraded.
go ra re wa emela le ka paakanyo ya sekwele.
Go ditira settlement batsadi go na le tsamaiso e dirisiwang.
There are processes which have to be followed in order to declare a place a settlement. We have to look into the national settlement policy, which will inform us of whether or not the numbers here can allow for you to be regarded as a settlement legally. Things that are often considered include the type of government structures that are found there, including schools, health posts, to name a few. On other issues, concerns such as the road and shortage of water in the area will be addressed through some of the projects in the pipeline built for NDP 12. Angela Nosa, BTV News, Metsimantsho.
Liza Osekeng is standing by to give us the latest in sport. Liza?
How are you?
I'm well, ma'am. How are you?
It's very good to see you, always, actually. People don't know this, but you are always the life of the party. Eh?
Am I?
Okay, thank you so much, Kamutoma Pani. Good evening. I am Liza Osekeng with your world of sport, and in our first story, Botswana Table Tennis Association completed 11 days training camp for the under-15 and under-19 teams in preparation for Africa Table Tennis Championships to be held in Botswana from the 15th to the 21st of July. Michelle Sekopo has the report.
Even though they're not yet fully first campaigners on the international scene, the junior Dikgang and his coaches say they believe this training camp has helped the players and has motivated them to have another training camp before the competition starts in July. From the 5 under-15 girls that are under Butele's coaching, there is Bitla Monkele, who is one of the few players with international experience.
It has been wonderful. It's out of Banaba, they are responding very well. They are willing to learn, they are learning, and there is a lot of improvement, the more performance in Yabo.
Ba ke ka reng hela ke re bana le idea ya gore di game tse di international di ka tshamekiwa yang re na le ene Bitla Monkele o tswa mo Bonteng re be re na le kena khone gore last year ba tshameka di hopes tse leng gore na kopanye le mahatsama wa Southern Africa. So Manda 15, she's the only girl who kile matsameka kona.
Registration for the Africa Championships is ongoing, and the organizers say they expect to host 40 countries, including neighboring countries like South Africa, Namibia, and Swaziland.
It's an African competition, like you know, Africa has 53. Our hope is bringing 4 participants per gender. You know, we are doing everything for it. At least the Harkabonale, at least for 40. Really, mo Botswana renna rentere kopa the sponsors for the battle on board.
Africa Games will start from the 15th of July to the 21st of that month at Botu University and Game City Rooftop. Michelle Sokopo, BTV Sport, Gaborone.
Now, Botswana Tennis Association President Waisi Tipe expressed confidence and trust in the 4 national team players who are currently in Hammamet, Tunisia, for the ongoing Africa Junior Team Championships. In an interview with the BTV Sport this morning, Tipe said he believes the quartet will perform well and qualify for the World Tennis Junior Team Championships scheduled for June this year. Katleho Kakole.
Tipe went on to say that the tennis under-14 national team, which comprised of Martin Setso, Wincott Semaka and Tinashe Patswane, all under the guidance of junior tennis coordinator Brighton Keteng, reached Tunisia following a bright start of the year. The trio performed beyond expectations during International Tennis Federation's tournaments, which were hosted here in Botswana, Namibia and Togo respectively. The BTA president said they are therefore confident that the team will bring good results from the continental showpiece in Tunisia.
The boys have played a lot of matches ever since January. So, you know, we're confident that they'll give it a best shot to try and do well and be able to qualify for the World Championships. I mean, they played in Namibia. From there, they were in Togo, and they also did the World J30s here. So that's a whole lot of match experience. So we're confident that they would give it their best shot.
The junior national team qualified for the African Junior Team Championships after a successful successful campaign in the ITF Southern Zonal Under-14 in Namibia in January before competing at the recent ITF tournament, which was hosted by Botswana to prepare for the continental tournament. For their part, the players said they are aiming for positive results in Tunisia, as they also want to proceed to the ITF World Junior Team Championships to be held next month.
Preparations for the team, Martin Setso and Tinashe Patswane, earlier on in March, they played the Africa Individual Under-14 Championships in Togo, and they were also able to play some of the World ITF J30 tournaments that we hosted in Gaborone. Also, some of the players like Tinashe Patswane, he's been playing a number of local tournaments in the country in preparations for such championships.
The junior tennis national team took off to Hammamet, Tunisia on Saturday for the African Junior Team Championships and are expected back home on the 14th of May. Katlaho Kakwele, BTV Sport.
And finally, Police 11 head coach Nelson Olibile says following the elimination from the Orange FA Cup by UB Hawks this past Saturday, they will work twice as hard to get maximum points when they meet another struggling side, Holy Ghost, tomorrow at Lobatse Sport Complex. Ryan Khengonyane.
Coach Olibile said as a way of keeping the team going, they have already started working on the psychological aspect of the game as they want to ensure their survival from the relegation battle.
As a technical team, as a head coach, I've tried my best to make sure that I reposition these boys again, both physically, tactically, technically, so that they are back on their senses, so that they know that it's very, very important that on the remaining 7 games, we put our maximum efforts on them so that we try to survive this team from the relegation. The morale is okay, it's fine. We know what we are expecting. We are playing a team that will always look very dangerous, especially that they are also hoping that for them to survive, they have to beat us. So we are aware of that.
Holy Ghost coach Upakua, on the other hand, said their work will be tough against Police 11, though they remain hopeful that they will emerge victorious from the encounter.
The club is facing challenges, financial challenges, and these are beginning or are affecting the preparations and operations of the club. You know, there are a lot of things that could be done better. There are a lot of things that are missing, but nevertheless, you keep pushing. You don't give up. I think in terms of preparations, they could have been better because of that. So this game, rather than being easy or hard for both clubs, it's more challenging, you know, because the pressures of the positions where both clubs are, the pressures of getting out of those positions mean that it's going to be hard, it's going to be tough. But nevertheless, both teams are going to play hard and try and play for maximum points.
The two will clash in a do-or-die fixture that has the potential to decide their Premier League statuses, as both are currently bottom of the log. The Holy Boys are 16th with 18 points from 4 wins, 6 draws and 12 losses, while the Jungle Kings, on the other hand, are 15th from 4 wins, 8 draws and 11 losses, having accumulated 20 points. In the other Wednesday fixtures, Orapa United will welcome Matebele FC at Dikgang Stadium. VTM FC take on Township Rollers, while the log leaders Joining Galaxy face 11 Angels. Tafik will play host to Masitauka at Obet Itani Chulume Stadium, while at the Samsono Stadium in Silibe Pikwe, NAKO United will battle it out against Security Systems. Ryan Khengonyane, BTV Sport, Gaborone.
Well, and that is it for sport this evening. Komoso Mapane is standing by to give us a reminder of our top stories. Maiso.
Thank you so much, Liza. Let's meet again tomorrow. Have yourself a fantastic evening, ma'am.
Likewise, Maiso.
That was Liza again giving us the latest in sport. And let's take a final look at stories leading the way this evening. SpaceX in talks with the government to invest in the country. African nations plead for AGOA to be extended. And in sports, Police 11 vowed to redeem their pride against the Holy Ghost in a league game after being knocked out of the Orange FA Cup. That's all that we had for you in our news bulletin this evening. BTV News, Ikanyarona, #BW Mindset Change. Up next is the weather update.
Good evening and welcome. The weather forecast tonight is brought to you by Kumo SETSWANA. This evening, clouds are visible over the northern parts of our country. On Wednesday, we're expecting some partly cloudy conditions over Ngamile and Khansi and Kalagadi district. Over the remaining district, we're expecting some clear skies. In the morning, we're expecting some mild temperatures over southern, southeast Gaborone, southern central and northeast district. Over the remaining areas, we're expecting some warm temperatures. In the afternoon, we're expecting hot temperatures over the entire country with maximums ranging between 31 degrees Celsius to 35 degrees Celsius. Now, looking at some cities in SADC, clear skies expected over Manzini, Johannesburg and Upington. Few patches of clouds expected to be visible over Maseru with partly cloudy conditions expected over Port Elizabeth. We're expecting few patches of clouds to be visible over Windhoek with clear skies expected over Harare and Beira. We're expecting some partly cloudy conditions over Antananarivo with some thunder showers expected over Dar es Salaam. Partly cloudy conditions expected over Blantyre and Kinshasa. That's the weather forecast. Have yourself a good evening.